Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Charbo, and colleges, man, they have not changed. They have only gotten worse. You figure 2015 and the University of Missouri or Mizzou protest, how that happened, the fallout from that, the $20 million in lost revenue, the shutting down of dorms because people just weren't attending. Then you had Evergreen State College last year, and they've been dealing with a lot of financial problems, a lot of financial issues overall. And as a result of all of this, you figure colleges would have learned. They would have learned. They would have learned. You don't do this. You don't get woke or you go broke, because that's what we see here. We do. Ivy League school has little to show for $185 million spent on faculty diversity. All right. When you start pushing that kind of stuff and you start instead of honoring the best person for the job, which I feel is the best way, I feel meritocracy is the best course of action for everyone, you get into this situation. Now, it says here that a newly released report reveals that Columbia University spent more than $185 million to increase faculty diversity, but that has effectively had no impact. Yeah. Right. I think, honestly, I'm at the point now whenever I see these activists pushing for that type of diversity in these colleges just giving in, it's somebody out there is getting paid big money. It's one of the reasons why I criticized Jesse Jackson when he went after BMW by trying to be upset at BMW because only, was it 13% of all BMW dealerships in the United States are owned by African Americans? And he felt that that was an injustice. And I'm just like, it's an open market. You can raise the money and buy a dealership and work with the companies. What? It to me, it felt like such a play for him to just get publicity and maybe a free car out of it to make him go away. That's how I view these things now, as extortion. Not about equality, but actually about extortion. And that is terrible because that should not be the case. Now, it says here, according to a September 13th report, Columbia University had spent $185 million since 2005 to increase the proportion of racial and ethnic minorities hired as faculty and tenured faculty professors. However, despite the $185 million spent, the proportion of Black and Latinx faculty members have largely remained stagnant. And in some years, faculty diversity got worse. And 2017 saw a 0.05% drop in Black faculty members. Now, that's pretty bad. I mean, not end of the world bad, not terrible bad, but bad. Because when you're spending all of this money, and at this point, it would have been 12 years of trying to increase this type of demographic in the faculty, and you're actually losing people. Where's the money? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money? Where did it all go? Because you're losing people. If the money was good, they'd stay. If the money was good, they would definitely stay. It says here, we have to make the scholarly case for diversity to our departments, but there is no stick. We are an office of carrots, says Dennis Mitchell, the vice provost of faculty diversity and inclusion at Columbia University. Okay, so he wants to make the scholarly case for diversity to the departments, but there's no stick, meaning they're not going to be able to beat anyone into submission, but they're all carrots, right? And they're all carrots, which means the money's good. The job is good. The benefits are good. Everything about it is good. All you do is get the carrot. You're never once hit with the stick because there's not going to be another shoe that's going to drop. This is literally dream jobs. So why are you losing people? Now, women faculty are the only demographic that has seen gains since the school started investing in faculty diversity, though the increase cannot necessarily be linked to investment, as women are now the majority in higher education more broadly. That's true. 2 out of 3 college graduates with a bachelor's degree are, in fact, women. That's been the way for a while now. 2 out of 3 college students are now women. Women make up the majority of college campuses. That's been going on now for the past couple years. So when you hear feminists come out and say that student loan debt is a feminist issue, they're not exactly wrong, to be fair. It is very much a female issue because now females take over the vast majority of those on college campuses. And the reason for why is because, well, I think men and boys are left behind. I think they are left behind when they're in school and they just choose not to go. Whereas when you get into the higher academic areas, we start seeing more women come on in, and then they take up the brunt of the student loan debt. So I guess one could argue that as we make our way towards the $1.5 trillion eventual student loan crash, we'll be able to put that burden squarely on the shoulders of women. Someone will make that claim and then someone will defend from it. I don't want anything like that to happen. I want people to get good jobs. I want people to be able to pay down loans, and I want people to be able to get a higher education in order to benefit their life. Unfortunately, we're seeing this push for diversity and inclusion that is not really inclusive to everybody, nor is it pushing for any form of actual equality. And that is shoving other people out the door. And so we see situations like this where it's like, wait a minute, we spent all of this money, all of this time, all of this effort trying to get people to come in, trying to fill these quotas, if you will, that at the end of the day, they screwed up and they've wasted almost $200 million. Now, campus reform reached out to Columbia University to ask how exactly the $185 million was spent and if any of the funds came from taxpayer sources, but the school didn't respond. Columbia is a private university, but as one of 8 Ivy League schools, it received a cut of the $41 billion in taxpayer funds granted between 2010 and 2015, according to a report from Open the Books. So they got a cut of $41 billion over the span of 5 years. And they still can't keep people there being in office full of carrots. What the hell is happening at Columbia University? That's my question. Now, Heather McDonald, who's the author of a new book, The Diversity Delusion, told Campus Reform that she's not surprised the $185 million in funding didn't work, suggesting that diversity efforts were founded upon a patent untruth, since many in academia initially theorized that the reason for the low numbers of underrepresented minorities in faculty positions was bias against competitively qualified candidates of color, which feels like that's an untruth completely. Hiring committees, the thinking went, needed to be encouraged or pressured to overcome those biases through the endless generation of diversity metrics and the application of implicit bias training. But it was all a delusion. She says here that hiring committees were already dedicated to diversity efforts, and many already went out of their way to find even more remotely qualified minorities that had not been snapped up by better institutions. So there was already an effort to get these good people in these good jobs. And again, I'm not against anyone having a job that they're qualified for. What I don't like is when it's like, we need to fill this quota, we need to fill this thing. Let's just kind of get whoever we can get in there to fill it, because we don't want to come across, we don't want to be perceived as being racist or having implicit bias or racial bias. Or gender bias or being sexist or misogynist, and then they get wrapped up in not wanting to be labeled as something that they're probably not to begin with, but then through just the thought process of it's like, oh shit, we got to do something about this. Further, McDonald suggests that the $185 million should have been used elsewhere. Yeah, no shit. Vast sums of money should have been diverted to Columbia's diversity, or have been diverted to Columbia's diversity bureaucracy, but that could have been better spent on scholarships for gifted students, library acquisitions, or basic research. She argued that Columbia University's diversity office needs to rethink its approach by saying here, social justice is not the purpose of a university. Passing on cultural inheritance and generating new knowledge is. Identity politics should have no role in Columbia's mission. But if Columbia is determined to pursue social justice, it should disband the office of Vice Provost for faculty diversity and inclusion and all related diversity functions, and spend the money on full-time tutors for inner city children and inner scout troops. And you know what? That's actually a fair point. That is an amazingly fair point put by Heather McDonald. And the reason why is because we need to. So here's the thing. You might disagree with me, but it's true. The concept, the idea of social justice is inherently good. It is about providing opportunities to those who need it and fighting injustice in areas where there are corruption and problems and things like that. Social justice warriors have taken what was a good, solid, full, full mission, and they've twisted it and they've turned it and they've bastardized it and they've made it about everything it never was meant to be. All while writing this pro-justice mentality. It doesn't exist. She's right. You need to take that money, disband those offices, and put that into teaching kids in areas where they're not getting the help that they need, that they're not getting the services that they need, that they're not getting the opportunities that they need. Now, I'm not trying to say give them things, hand them things. They will work, they will learn. But I truly believe that these kids, if given the opportunity to learn, to better themselves and to better their environment will jump at the chance. And I would be way more happy to see my tax dollars going into programs that benefit that are run by people that have an absolute desire to benefit those in need, and not trying to fill some type of quota or push some kind of political agenda and demonize an entirely different group of people in order to try to get their own narrative spun or spin on things and get that a narrative pushed forward and being the only one we talk about. I would much rather that be the case, but that we actually fight these issues where the systemic problems come from. But we're not going to do that. They're going to spend $185 million over the span of 13 years for faculty diversity and ultimately lose minority professors and faculty because of what? There is no stick? That doesn't make any sense to me. But it also maybe kind of does, because the stick would indicate, I guess, some challenge. And if you go there and there's no challenge and it's all carrot, it's all cake all the time, maybe people they want something more. They want to be that challenge. They want to fight the stick. I don't know. Maybe my analogy is all over the damn place. But anyway, this is sad. It's really sad. So leave your comments below. I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this one. They should be interesting. If you guys made it this far, please type stick in the chat. That way I know it. If you guys haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support it, Patreon is a great way. Keeps things going. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day and peace out.